What's up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take MLB DFS podcast. I'm your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I am joined once again by the boy genius of the Wise Take Nation, aka the Bart Simpson of the Wise Take Nation, Mr. KamG. Not one, not two, but 3 threes. You can find him on Twitter at KamG333. Cam, how are things in Chicago, bro? Shut down.
Pretty good. It's been real crappy here, though. It snowed on I think it snowed last weekend or this weekend, and has rained literally nonstop for the last 4 days. So it's been pretty depressing. Thought we were kind of getting into that phase where it was gonna start getting warm because it teased us with 70, but yeah. So I'm hoping I'll see some sunshine soon, hopefully. But other than that, can't complain.
That's right. I think it was the Y stream when you were on a Saturday. Yeah. You were telling us that you got a lot of snow coming. They had postponed the White Sox game that day, and I remember, and all I could do was laugh. That was my initial reaction, which is I laughed. Paulie's telling me while you're on the call, Paulie's telling me oh yeah, Cam's about to get hit with a ton of snow, and I just laughed. And then you're oh yeah, it's just laugh, and I'm oh shit, that's right, my bad, sorry, Cam. That sucks, bro.
Yeah, it's real funny, isn't it? Yeah.
That does suck,
it
does suck though,
because it always does that around here where it's it'll have 2 days where it's 70, and then it'll just snow for 8 inches, and it teases you. It's kind of annoying, but I'm used to it now.
Just so you know, that I think that little section you said could go either way. 8 inches, and I heard 8 inches. I heard, what did you say after that?
Teasing you.
8 inches. I don't know. I'm just letting you know. Yeah. I'm just letting you know, because sometimes
I need to watch myself a little bit. Gotta keep it PG.
That's all. Just to keep it clean. Not that it matters. That's something you would want to talk about, is teasing with 8 inches. No, that's your business. But
you're right. Maybe a different podcast.
Yeah, maybe just a different. That's all. The listeners don't like when we get too off topic. You know what I mean? So.
Right. Yeah. We can't be talking about all that stuff.
Yes. Keep it zipped up. Thank you. Cam always trying to pull his junk out on camera, man. I don't understand. I'm just kidding. Cam's gonna be a doctor, and
yeah, we're gonna have to blur that one out if that ever happens.
Yeah, we're gonna have to blur that one. I'll just put Patio Joe's image face over your face and just pretend that.
There you go. Yeah, he can take the hit.
It'd be more.
He's probably.
Would it even be a hit?
Probably 5 pictures of him with that already, so he can add a 6.
I don't even think it would be a hit to him.
Yeah.
I don't think it would phase him. Yeah, I think he would love it. I think he would be.
He'd be glad to have another addition, another picture to his. He's probably got it hanging on his walls. His kids are gonna be Dad, what's this? And he's gonna have to explain all of his pictures.
He's gonna have to introduce them to Audie Fulton. That's what he's gonna have to do. He's gonna have to introduce him to Audie, his alter ego that that the nation has seen some of, and I've heard some pretty crazy stories about. But we got a massive slate, Cam. 13 games. There's a lot to consider. We have a lot of arms, right? We do have guys that we like to attack. We've got pretty much everything. So, barring any weather things that we'll look into tomorrow, let's start off the conversation with cash games. Let's go right into it. Cash game SP1s. So on FanDuel, maybe your preference. On DraftKings, just your first pitching option in cash. There's a lot of guys to consider. There is Paxton, Kershaw, Sale. Who's your SP1 or your favorite pitcher for cash right now?
Yeah, so best overall pitcher on the slate for me is going to be Paxton. However, it's a tougher matchup here going up against the Twins. But on DraftKings or on FanDuel, he does get a little bit of a price discount off of Kershaw. He's 10-3 over there, and Kershaw is 11-3. So just from a pure talent standpoint, I think Paxton can still be considered for cash. But I think the main guy for cash will probably be Clayton Kershaw, just going up against the Padres. Has really good history against them. Kershaw this year as well is kind of shown to be he's not back to like the old days dominant Kershaw where he's like striking out a ton of guys, but like Kershaw's still been really good this year. 29% strikeout percentage. He has the second highest whiff per swing rate on the slate and 13% swing strike rate. So he looks really good to me going up against this Padres lineup. Um, that does hit lefties well, but
That's a
Kershaw
Max Fried.
changes. Yeah, exactly. And Kershaw does change speeds a lot, so I like him. Good history as well against them, not posting under a 25 on DraftKings uh, since 2016 in this matchup. So I think Kershaw is probably like the main target here for cash games that people will probably go to, and I think he's really safe. Another guy you can consider is Tyler Glasnow, going up against Baltimore. It is a small park, but Glasnow is just like a really solid pitcher with some strikeout upside. I don't like love the spot as much as I probably would have last year against Baltimore. They've actually been somewhat a little pesky this year with a 21% K rate versus righties. Um, so that's not ideal, but I do believe in kind of like just the talent of Glasnow. So Paxton, Kershaw, and Glasnow, I think are probably the three cash guys I would pay up for in terms of like higher tiered price arms.
Interesting. I do like those options. What about Chris Sale against the White Sox?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been like, I really have not played Sale or like recommended him all that much just because I don't know. I saw like how he was pitching earlier in the year, and he's obviously been pitching better. Kind of like looking at some of his numbers right now, he's seen like an increase throughout the year. Now he's up to like a 24% K percentage and like a round 27 whiffs per swing and 12 swinging strike, which at the beginning of the year it was like down, it was like really low, like below 20, like below 8. So he's starting to figure it out. And we've talked about like this Boston pitching staff, how it might take them a little while to get going. And then with kind of the additive of the revenge spot for Sale here against his former team, like in Chicago, is pretty appealing. I'm not sure. Trying to look if he's pitched against them before. Looks like maybe one game against them in Chicago. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously like a really solid matchup here. I don't know, man. I think it's fine for cash, but like I have more doubts in my mind of him than like maybe the other three pitchers, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I
Like
think it makes total
he's
sense. Yeah.
he seemed a little off, but like the matchup and like if he's back to his normal self, if you're kind of trying to paint a picture in your head of like how the slate's gonna go to tomorrow, and you're like, oh, Chris Sale's back, like he just needed some time to kind of get going again. Then I think that makes a ton of sense over on FanDuel for sure at 9-9, and then on DraftKings at 9-9 as well. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with Sale for sure. It's definitely good. I just have a little more doubt than the other three that I mentioned
No,
before.
I would agree. As of right now, I'm gonna like Sale a lot in tournaments at that price. But Kershaw is only $200 more on DraftKings. You know, it's not hard to get him.
Yeah.
He's got a better park. I think that the White Sox and Padres are somewhat comparable. You know, they're very boomer bust. They have a lot of power, but they also strike out a lot. So, yeah, I think for cash games, I would agree. I was just curious on what your take was with Sale, and I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't quite know if I trust him for cash just yet. Like, he's looked okay, but I don't quite
Mhm.
know. In tournaments, I like the idea of going overweight on him right now because I think I'm taking advantage of
Yeah.
kind of buying low. And I think ultimately that like I would expect Chris Sale to be a better strikeout pitcher over the long run than Kershaw right now. And I could be wrong. That's just based off assuming Kershaw with all his surgeries on his neck and back and whatever else that he's dealt with over the years. Whereas Sale, I think we're basically just kind of hoping that it's just more like took him a while to get going. Like you said, Boston just didn't work their guys out enough. Um,
Yeah.
but I do agree. Glass now we don't have a great park for. Like I think Kershaw on DraftKings, it's like it just makes more sense to just go to Kershaw because like they're not priced low enough to like pull you away
Yeah,
from
I
him.
think the main cash guy for sure is gonna be Kershaw.
Yeah.
And then I think like the other guys are fine. Like they're good enough arms where I feel okay with them playing them in cash. Like I think they're gonna be safe.
Right, but
But I
Kershaw's the
think
preference.
Kershaw's the safest for
As
sure.
far as potential SP2s, do you see anybody do you see anybody cheaper, or do you think you just turn around because like I said, these guys aren't that expensive and just grab a glass now, grab a sale, grab somebody like that to pair with Kershaw. We do have cores. We have a lot of bats on the slate.
Yeah, I've noticed recently, like last year, I feel like the kind of like trend was to go maybe one SP2 or one like higher end pitcher and one like SP2 punt-ish kind of play. Where this year, I mean, this could just all be like slate-ish dependent, obviously, but it seems like kind of paying up for one pitcher and then maybe paying up for a second, or at least not dropping down completely, but just going to that mid tier has been working out. So I could definitely get behind like that approach here. I think DraftKings has been somewhat sharper this year with a lot of their pricing for like the potential SP2s. Like you're not getting a lot of guys this year that are like super cheap where you're like, okay, I don't really care if I play them or not. They price up a lot of the guys at least into the mid range that somewhat have a shot to like do well, in my opinion here. So a lot of the guys in the mid tier that I would consider pitching, it looks like Gaussman here going up against Miami, going to be in a really good spot, pitching in Miami as well. I think everyone who's been pretty consistently playing DraftKings or FanDuel right now for baseball knows that the Marlins are just a nut spot for pitchers. 27% K rate versus righties with like the worst ISO versus right-handed pitching in the league by far at 108. And so this is just a great spot for Gaussman. I think Sonny Gray is really interesting as well. 8-2 on DraftKings going up against the Giants. Although I do have some concern there just with him pitching at home, going up against this Giants team where potentially some of their power numbers and everything could be hidden in the home ballpark that they play at. But again, their WRC plus, which takes into consideration like their ballpark and everything, is still like third worst on the slate here. So I think Sonny Gray is in consideration, kind of in that mid tier. But in terms of like going way down, I don't know, man. I don't see a whole ton that I would really want to go to below like 7K on DraftKings. Do you have any that you're kind of looking at?
No, I mean, there's guys that you can take a shot with. Like Brandon Woodruff comes to mind as a potential option. This game's in Milwaukee. Had this game been in New
Yeah.
York, I would feel a little more comfortable. But yeah, I think you're right. Like Bieber is probably the lowest at this point that I see that maybe, and even that, while Bieber's pitched really well, and I do like him for tournaments, it would be hard to justify playing Bieber over like Gaussman just by opponent, right? Seattle's been one of the better
Yeah.
offenses out there. Miami, like you said, has been like the not worse. So I think you're right. I think that Gaussman is kind of the guy. I don't mind Gray either, but I think Bieber is a better pitcher than Gray. I want to believe that. Although I will admit Gray's been much improved this season. But like you said, then the issue comes the ballpark. It's funny. I've been waiting for the Reds to go home. I'm like, oh my god, I'm supposed to. The Reds are like trying to like wake up, and they're a bad team, but they've been trying to wake up. But they've been in these
Yeah.
like terrible ballparks, going out west and then going all the way
I know.
east, and now and, like even City Field's not great. You know what I mean? It's a pitcher's park,
No, yeah, for sure.
and like finally they're coming home, and it's not because I want to play the Reds. Even it's that I wanted to play guys against the Reds. And look who it is. It's the freaking Giants. It's like, you gotta be kidding me, dude.
Right.
Like, I've been waiting for these guys to come home, and you give me the Giants. Like, I'm just like, oh. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would agree with you. I think right now Gaussman makes the most sense. I'm pretty sure Gaussman's like first or second start of the year was against Miami, and he like destroyed them. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that optimally people will go there, and I'm sure he'll be highly owned. But in tournaments, I would certainly consider like Bieber as a potential pivot, and that's where I think we can come a little lower before we go a little lower to see if there's any GBHP options we like. Do any of the SP1 or SP2 options we discussed, do any of them stand out more to you in tournaments? Like you're like looking at this, like I think while in cash, Kershaw is the safest. I think I might, for tournaments, prefer to pivot to this guy. Is there anybody like that right now?
Yeah, so Paulie and I talked about it last week where we think like I think Kershaw is going to be solid throughout the whole year, but I don't know necessarily if we're going to see a ton of like really dominant performances where Kershaw is going to have this like 35 to 40 point ceiling. I think he's going to maybe consistently be around 22 to 27 on a slate to
Yeah.
slate basis. So true. So I think it's going to be kind of a thing where just play Kershaw in cash because he's going to pitch well, but then try to look for those tournament like pivots here. I'm really interested in James Paxton going up against the Twins here for tournaments. It's going to be a really high, or it's going to be like a really hard perceived matchup here going up against the Twins. They have a 250 ISO and 121 WRC plus versus left-handed pitching so far this year. But Paxton's been just as good on the year, posting a 36% K rate with just elite like stuff in terms of swing and miss. Um, so yeah, this is a really like dangerous spot I think for him. Um, Wipes out lefties pretty much, and a lot of these lefties or a lot of these like Twins matchups here for him are like kind of the power spots that I'm trying to stay away from when I'm looking at this Twins lineup. So you're gonna kind of neutralize potentially like a Eddie Rosario or a Max Kepler, or even like a Jorge Polanco for switching him to the right side. So I actually think this is a pretty interesting matchup for Paxton. I wish it wasn't in Yankee Stadium, but that's kind of just another risk that you're gonna have to take here. But I think Paxton has like super elite strikeout upside here in this matchup with a pretty safe floor. And he could get a couple knocked out on him here in this pretty small ballpark in New York, but I think it's worth the risk at probably what should be lower ownership. I couldn't imagine he would be popular tomorrow, like in Yankee Stadium versus a Twins team that is perceived to be pretty like good, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. You got Kershaw cheaper, Sale cheaper, all these guys cheaper. I don't think a ton of people go to Paxton.
Yeah, and then another guy I'm looking at is Mike Minor
Yeah.
going up against Toronto. He's like so pitching ninja. I use him a lot, but he's been kind of like highlighting his changeup that he's been using more this year, and it's pretty nasty if you go on his Twitter and try to dig that up. And I mean, I use the eye test with that, and then I go look at the numbers, and he's got a 25% K rate and a 30% whiff per swing with a 12% swinging strike rate. So he's definitely improved this year from his 2018 season. He gets a matchup against Toronto that, while they are worse, like the worst team in the league versus righties in terms of strikeout percentage, they do have a 25% K rate versus lefties, which like are with really bad like power numbers as well. Toronto's playing right now in Los Angeles, right? I believe.
Yes.
So they got a late night on the West Coast there in California. I'm gonna have to travel into Texas now against Miner, who's been really good so far to start the year, and he's gonna have a pretty good discount here on DraftKings at 9K, and on FanDuel he is 9.2. I would assume he'll be under 5% tomorrow on a really large slate. So I like Miner a lot as well in this kind of matchup here, and that might do it for above 9K.
I like it for sure. I finally caught one of Miner's really good games. I think it was his last start where he went. Yeah, his last start. I caught that 13K game against Seattle. And I agree. I think he's much improved. Last year, he was a guy that we took more chances on than we probably would have liked to have admitted. Like, as a company, we saw something there. And we understood that
Yeah.
maybe it wasn't quite ready. We attacked him in certain instances. We had a pretty good read on him last year. This year, I think we were expecting to see maybe like next year him kind of be like this, and he started off this year being like this, and if it's going to come early, that's fine. But my point is, like, I don't think it's not totally shocking that all of a sudden he looks good and his numbers are improving dramatically. It's just more that it came a little earlier than I think we expected. But there is, like, you could see, like, we could see it. He had everything. He was just having a hard time putting it all together, managing the control, all that kind of stuff. I think you can make a similar argument for Matt Boyd. Now, he's a little more of a question mark for me personally,
for sure.
but the velocity's been up this year. He's looked really, really good. He's looked almost like a different pitcher. And you got two guys kind of right there that are going to be lost in the shuffle to guys like Kershaw, Chris Sale, Glass now, and then your Biebers and your Gausmans who are under them. So I do think that's a really good point. As far as like any SP2s, just kind of open things up for tournaments. Is there anybody here that we didn't discuss in the cash game conversation that you'd be willing to roll the dice on?
Yeah. So I do like what you said about Boyd. I just like the matchup a little bit more for Minor, but in terms of like actually like looking at his pitching numbers, Boyd's been like the second best pitcher on the slate. So he's really good. It's just a tough matchup versus Kansas City, and Kansas City did touch up Blake Snell, I believe, recently this year. Kind of could put that into context if you're kind of going lefty. But yeah, so I actually do have interest in Jared Eichhoff at 7-4 on DraftKings and on FanDuel. Let me check out what he is over there. 8-6 on FanDuel. So I like I like him a lot here going up against Washington. At first, when I started looking at this slate, I knew that like he's been good this year, but I saw the matchup and I wasn't sure if I really wanted to take a chance on him against Washington, but pulled up some of the numbers for Washington, and they do have a pretty healthy strikeout rate versus righties this year, 25.5%. The ISO is 170, so it's not like crazy high or anything. So I think I'm willing to take a chance on him, a guy who's also kind of worked through injuries and is healthy right now, has had really 3 pretty good starts here and kind of progressing throughout the season. Has a 30% K rate with a 13% swinging strike rate. So those two are kind of connected. It's not some weird random strikeout rate where he's got 31%, but like a 9% swinging strike rate or anything like that. So the numbers kind of back up how he's been doing. And I think a lot of people might kind of back away from taking him just because they might perceive Washington as like somewhat of a harder matchup, but it's actually a little better than I expected for him. So I think at 7-4 on DraftKings, he's actually a really good price with some pretty high strikeout upside if he can continue his kind of run that he's had to start the year.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I definitely see it. I mean, there's going to be some, like we talked about some great pitchers, but realistically, some of these bats that we're going to like are going to be pretty expensive, and it's going to be hard. And in tournaments, we're going to want to be able to maximize those stacks and play the guys we want to get in there. And we're going to need some of these cheaper options as well. I'll say that Kyle Gibson is a guy that like I don't typically trust a ton, but he's granted both games were against Baltimore, but he's coming off of 2 decent starts. It's Yankee Stadium. It's terrifying. I recall last year being on the phone with Paulie while Kyle Gibson was just destroying his Yankees, just striking them out with his curveball one by one. It was just automatic, just bam, bam, bam. So I'm bringing his name up just for the simple fact of like I've seen him shut them down before.
You know, you son of a bitch! I don't like that you just said that because I like make like little ratings for my guys and like my model, and he came out like pretty high, and I was like, I don't.
You were like, no, really... that's an error. There's no way.
Yeah. I was like, Yankees at home in New York, and then of course now you're like, oh, Kyle Gibson. Now I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, now it's fine. I'm definitely gonna pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not. It's obviously not like an all-in type of deal.
No.
But I think that there's merit because he's really cheap. It's Baltimore. I'm not, and the Yankees. The Yankees, while I do expect them to start kind of turning it on, they're starting to get a little healthy, all that. we have seen teams kind of be a little slow to start when they get back home. Like they've just been on a massive road trip all the way across the country. We've seen teams take a game or two to kind of, wake up a little bit. And again, it's a tournament flyer. But at 6,
I'm looking at Gibson right now too, and like I don't know if this is like matchup dependent or what's going on. I don't know who he's faced. Baltimore twice, Toronto, and New York. So that could have something to do with it. But like he's getting a ton of swings, like outside of the strike zone, and like no one's making contact. Like he's got by far the lowest like outside the zone contact as well. So I mean, that's never a bad thing when you're getting guys to swing at pitches that aren't in the strike zone, and then when they're swinging at them, they're not even making contact.
Mm-hmm.
So that does have like, especially against the Yankees team that does like to swing and miss pretty freely. Like, that could be why he's like grading out well. I just hated it. I just like didn't like it at first look, but I mean, I think it makes sense. It's just scary, obviously, in the ballpark, right?
It is absolutely terrifying. I mean,
he has been like a ground ball guy to start the year, it looks like. But I'd have to pull up his 2018 stats as well to kind of see.
I've got two more people I want to ask you about. Okay,
sure.
So this one is very hard for me to play a player like this, a guy that has virtually no strikeout upside whatsoever. But I'm going to ask you anyway. Brett Anderson against Pittsburgh,
Yep.
5,800.
That's where I thought you were going. Yeah, so he's another guy that stuck out to me, mostly just obviously based on the matchup here, going up against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been like the worst or second worst team in terms of offenses against left-handed pitching. They have a 30% strikeout rate and just like really bad power numbers and like run producing numbers. So in terms of matchup, this is the best on the slate for like when you factor in handedness and everything for the pitcher. So that's never bad, especially when you're trying to get an SP2 in there, and he's the second cheapest on DraftKings. So I think he's definitely worth a shot going up against a team that's the best matchup of the 26 teams on the slate. And then you factor in his price, he's literally the second cheapest, and he's a ground ball guy, which I like. So far this year, 1.8 ground balls to fly balls, which even if you do get in trouble, like you can limit a lot of damage just by keeping balls on the ground and let your like defense do the work rather than getting up a couple base runners and then giving up like a 3-run home run or something like that. And against Pittsburgh, you don't really even have to worry about that either.
Right, and of course it's in Pittsburgh. Not that it would have mattered. Oakland's the same fucking situation, whether they were playing over there.
Right, they're pretty comparable, so I like that.
So he's a maybe if you're desperate for salary, because he just lacks ceiling. That's the problem. But if you need,
I think he's fine though, for sure. Like Pittsburgh's only implied like 4 runs tomorrow, so
I think he's fine too. Yeah. Like, what do you think his ceiling is? Like a 22, 23 at 5'8"? You'll take that, right? Like.
Yeah, I think if he has like I think if he can go like 6 innings and like not give up a ton of base runners, I think he could have around like a 20, like something like that.
Last guy I'm going to ask you about, Cam. This Tyler Beatty kid looks like he's projected to make his start for the Giants against Cincinnati. So I got him up on FanGraphs here. He's had 5 starts this season in AAA. Now, granted, he had 2 starts last year. And he had shown massive strikeout upside, but he had a major control issue. That led to a massive ERA. He also had a terrible BABIP. Regardless, in 5 starts in AAA this year, the walks are still scary at 3.97, but they have lowered from what we've seen the last couple seasons and even in the minors. The strikeout numbers have been kind of insane, what he's been doing down there in 5 starts. It is AAA, but his xFIP is down to 3.76. We're going to have to dig in on this kid tomorrow. Do you have a feel for the situation? Not a good park. Cincinnati could be a tough team to strike out. Thor did really well today, but it took him an entire game to rack up all those strikeouts. And, to just kind of put it in perspective. What do you think, Cam?
Yeah, damn, that's a tough spot, but it is the Reds offense, and like they do have a ton of strikeout upside. In term for like the opposing pitcher. it's scary, man, in Great American Small Park, but I'll have to dig into him. He's only 5'6" on DraftKings. If he has a lot of strikeout upside, I think I can like work with that as long as he's gonna get Ks. If he gives up like even 4 to 5 runs, like if he's striking out a bunch of dudes, I can live with that as long as you like we always talk about that, right? Like we don't care about necessarily like taking a punt pitcher that could give up some damage and some runs as long as he can kind of like regain some of those points by striking out some dudes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so if he's got like a ton of if like his pitches look good and like he's got a ton of strikeout upside like he does in the minors, I'll definitely get behind that at 5'6", like going up against the Reds
I think
offense
he's actually 6'1" on DraftKings.
oh 6'1" of mine.
Yeah.
Like I must have the FanDuel tab up. Yeah, so even on FanDuel he's 5'6", so
Yeah.
that's even better.
Yeah. So we got some things we got to dig into tomorrow. I think I'm writing an article and it'll be on the Y stream. You got the cheat sheets coming out tomorrow. So we'll kind of see who makes the cut from there. Let's talk about some offenses, Cam. We've got some interesting pitchers. Dan Straley, a guy we like to attack. We've got Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson. Yeah, Tyler Anderson, who has not looked good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I want to make sure I got. I always get him and Freeland confused. Anderson, who's looked awful, and we got one of Cam's favorite pitchers, Mr. Thornton. The last time you discussed Thornton was when you were on the Y stream telling everybody to stack the Rays against him because he was trash, and the Rays were the top stack of the night. Which offenses kind of stand out to you the most? Oh, we got Coors too.
Yeah,
I guess I can't leave that out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched on like the three main ones that I wanted to talk about. I think some of the other offenses that we'll probably get to tomorrow once our content comes out will be more due to like potentially game theory or just like digging into some underlying things or if they profile better versus like a specific pitcher. But right now, I mean, there's three that stuck out to me just at like kind of first look here, going through some of these numbers. But Dan Straley is the guy that I would target for sure. He's the worst pitcher so far this year of all the pitchers pitching on the slate. Like only a 10% strikeout rate. Gets a ton of contact on the pitches that he throws in the zone. His Sierra is by far the worst on the slate, 6.38. So he's just not getting anyone to swing and miss, like not missing bats, and he's giving up a ton of hard contact. Looks like 50 or 48% hard contact to lefties and just extreme fly ball rates as well. Pitching in Camden Yards in Baltimore, really good pitching ballpark there. Really good hitting ballpark there for the Rays to come into. Super like positive ballpark ship for them. And then whenever you factor in the Orioles, you got to factor in their bullpen. By far the worst bullpen in the league so far, just in terms of like overall aggregated bullpen. So yeah, I like the Rays a ton. Like you mentioned before, Tyler Anderson's been absolutely trash. So I love the I love the Diamondbacks and Coors tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's going to be probably the ultimate chalk here, but I mean, it even gets better. Like in Coors going up against a lefty, you got a lot of these guys on this team that can hit lefties really well. Like Christian Walker could double dong tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Wilmer Flores has been known as like a lefty specialist throughout his career. He went yard off CC the other day. Nick Ahmed's been sneaky good against left-handed pitching, so you could get some value lower in their lineup as well. And then depending on who they're catching, I think both of those catchers are actually pretty average, which is good for a catcher against lefties. But yeah, I really like the Diamondbacks in that spot. I don't really know how you couldn't. If you're going to fade them, it's just going to be fading purely off game theory because they're going to grade out as one of the top offenses on the slate for sure. And then you mentioned him before, but I like Texas a lot. They're going to be at home. This offense is like sneaky been like the best offense in like Major League Baseball to start the year. And I feel like a lot of people won't really go there with Coors and everything on the slate. So this like offense just packs a ton of power, especially at home. They're going to go up against Thornton, who gives up a ton of hard contact to lefties and righties, and not so many fly balls. So if we can get some of these guys like Gallo and Odor that hit just like almost 60% fly balls, to correlate that with the hard contact that he gives up, like I really like this Texas offense as well. Like Joey Gallo is probably going to hit a home run tomorrow, and you can just mix it in with like a ton of different options. But love those three offenses, and those were the three that I was kind of going to talk about.
Boom.
But pretty obvious.
Nailed it. Nailed it. Yeah, I think those are the teams that stood out to me the most as well. The Diamondbacks against Tyler Anderson. It's in Coors. The Diamondbacks have been playing really good baseball, and Tyler Anderson's been struggling out his ass. I don't like taking lefties. I don't like taking any pitchers against the D-backs. I definitely don't like taking lefties against the D-backs.
Yeah.
They have some of the more pesky, like Nick Ahmed, like you said, he's 4,300 on DraftKings. I think that's a really low price for this matchup. Homer Flores is only 4.4. It's like, yeah, they're in cores, so their prices are up, but it doesn't. Those kind of guys, like, it's not really going to hurt you to play. It's going to be pretty easy to get them kind of in. So, yeah, I like the D-backs. I like those offenses a lot. The one other offense I'll mention, and it's mainly because I think that people aren't going to look there, but the Red Sox offense against Ronaldo Lopez. Ronaldo Lopez coming off a really, really good start. I thought that was...
Wait, he's not good now?
Ronaldo Lopez? That's the thing about Ronaldo Lopez. You will never know if he's really good or if he's really bad. No one will ever know. His numbers are always going to say he's trash. His game logs are going to say he's awesome, he's the worst. He's awesome, he's the worst. That's nobody's ever really going to know. Because if you look at his numbers, every one of his numbers, like, over his career are awful. They're like, exactly. One of the worst xFIPs on the slate all year last year. And yet he had upside. And he was a guy you could...
Like an 8 xFIP.
It's crazy. Yeah. But then at the same time, like, how many times you see him and he does well. So I'll throw the Red Sox on the list because, like, we know he's a hard-throwing guy. I'm not really afraid of those kind of players when it comes to guys like JD Martinez, Mookie Betts, and et cetera, et cetera. This Chavis dude, I love this Chavis dude. You know, I make fun with Paulie. I make fun of his name. Like, this is Chavis. I like to have a little fun but with his name. But that dude's a beast, man. That guy can hit. And even today, he was struggling to get hit. He finally got on base, and he stole a base right away. He's just one of those guys that's aggressive, you know?
He tried to, like, not necessarily, like, steal home the other day, but I saw him, like, it was like a pass ball.
He was ready.
He tried to, like, go.
He's ready. He's like, I'm not going to rely on nobody to get me the fantasy points. I'm going to go get the fantasy points myself.
Right, exactly. You had to get on him quick, though, because now he's expensive.
Yeah, I know.
He, like, started on FanDuel at, like,
it was beautiful. I played him every day, and he did not let me down once. He's just been awesome. But yeah, man, I'm with you. The D-backs, the Rangers, the Rays are looking like my favorite offenses right now for sure. And then I'll add the Red Sox for the sake of, low ownership. But I think I'm with you there. And I think that we'll see some combination of that being the chalk tomorrow with the cash game pitchers we mentioned above. That's going to do it for the slate discussion. We'll do the cash game cores. We'll do the top threes and all that. We'll get out of here, Dong Watch, etc. But first, I'm going to remind everybody, if you haven't already, check us out at yc.com. Get over there. Come join the nation. Come see what it is we do. Our goal is to make you a better DFS player, whether it be through reading our content every day, watching our videos, or even being in the Slack chat, chopping it up with the other members who are also learning and grinding out. And the other analysts who are here as well. Start off with a day pass if you're unsure and you want to see what the content's all about. $2.50 is all it costs. You'll get access to all the MLB content for one day. You'll get access to Cam's cheat sheets. You'll get access to the Y stream. You'll get access, which is a live show we do 2 hours before lock. You'll get access after our guys have done their research. You'll get access to our tournament article, our cash game article, our projections, all that for just $2.50 for one day. Once you see what it is, you see what the real deal is, you want a little bit of money, you see the value, go ahead and save yourself some money in the long run, get a monthly membership or higher. That'll get you access into the Slack chat. So the Slack chat does not come with a day pass. You need a monthly membership or higher. But get into the Slack and talk to some of our members, talk to some of our analysts, and better your game. Just, improve it. Just work on your craft and go after your goals. Go set your goals, go get them. Go do your thing. And we will help you get there. Cam, cash game cores. So on FanDuel, we just kind of plug in Kershaw, I think, right?
Yeah.
DraftKings will do the same because we agreed there. So on DraftKings, who did we say was the SP2? Gausman, right?
Yeah, for sure. 8-4 over
All
there.
right. So let me ask you this: who is the stud bat that right now you're thinking you're gonna want here?
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
13 games,
Oh
like
yeah.
stud bad is
Oh yeah.
always tough to pick, but shit. I don't know. I mean, me personally, like when I'm doing that, I would just look at like the four like offenses that we talked about. So I'd look at D-backs, Red Sox, Rangers, and Rays, and I'd look at kind of like those studs and see who I think's in the best spot. Um, I'm stalling as we talk, so I can try to figure this out.
You know what it is? Like I want to go to the D-backs. The problem is like the prices on DraftKings for some of these guys are just out of control. Like Ketel Marte,
Right.
I think is good, and I like him against lefties. But 5-4 for Ketel Marte,
Right.
that just
It's like it seems more of like
it seems more tournament.
Yeah,
it
like
seems more like tournament plays.
yeah, we just talked about it.
Yeah,
Though.
I
It's
know.
like this offense is really good versus like left. Like I have like Arizona is like actually like you could argue that they're the best offense on the slate, just like looking at their numbers.
Right.
And like, but then you look at like their prices and you're like, I don't know if I want to pay that.
We're not used to like seeing like beast mode Ketel Marte. We're not
Right.
like used to that all the way. Last year against lefties, Ahmed and Marte. If it was against a lefty, go for it. This year, Ahmed's been like that against lefties. Marte's been like that against both sides of the play. He's just been good.
Yeah, he's been.
But still, we're not used to paying $5,400 for these kind of dudes. It's like, you know, it does. Like I feel like a little more comfortable. You're paying 5-1 for Mookie Betts, but that's Mookie Betts. He's always 5-1. That's every day. So it's like, you know, I do know what you mean. Joey Gallo is 5-5. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to decide like the studs on each offense. It's like either Joey Gallo, Mookie, or you could go with like one of those Diamondbacks that's high priced. I probably wouldn't go like Peralta lefty on lefty, but
I mean,
Marte, Christian Walker, like I don't know, it's tough, but
I guess Marte, right? Like,
yeah, I mean. He's solid, man. It's just like weird to
pay that much.
Click on it. Yeah,
it is.
But
it is. So do we just go Mookie and say F it?
I think in terms of like cash, you'd probably either go Mookie or Marte, just because like those two guys more likely to probably get on base. They also have like stolen base potential as well, where Gallo is more of like a boom or bust, one swing of the bat type guy.
We'll go with Marte and get all fancy. You make a good point. Plus, we'll go with Marte because it's different. Like instead of plugging Mookie every day. Any other? Do you see any value guys to play?
So on, I was looking at FanDuel before when we were talking. I'll check their prices over here. Yeah, so Odor, for both FanDuel and DraftKings seems too cheap. 3.8 on DraftKings and 2.6 on FanDuel, I believe.
That is glorious. I like that, Cam.
So yeah, I would say plug him into cash for sure.
I like it. There was a
and then another one on FanDuel. Sorry, I keep doing FanDuel, but G-Man Choi could be batting third versus Dan Straley, and he's 2.9.
You also got Nathaniel Lowe, who could be batting fifth at 2.4. You got a couple of different ways you can go there against Straley. That Lowe kid's supposed to be good.
Both of those two dudes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. On FanDuel, you could do it with the utility. You can get Lowe.
Yep.
But
and on DraftKings, he's only 4K on DraftKings too, so he makes a good price.
I like it. Cam, top 3 pitchers overall tomorrow.
Yeah. So I think for cash, the safest guy is just gonna be Kershaw. There's so many like options that you could play, but I like Paxton to get a little risky. Try to get that strikeout upside, and then I'll go chalk again, but Gausman versus Miami.
Boom. Did you give 3?
Kershaw,
Paxton.
Paxton.
Okay, yeah. I will go with I'm gonna go Chris Sale. Man, I'll go Chris Sale. I'll go with you on James Paxton for the ownership, and let's go Kyle Gibson. See, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
say.
like realistically, I'm probably gonna play like 8 pitchers.
Yeah, I know exactly. But top 3 stacks.
That's so funny that you mentioned Gibson because like I pulled up like my fucking spreadsheet and I saw that he was like up there with like some of these other studs on the slate, and I was like, no, that's wrong. I'm gonna delete that. And then you were like, yeah, I'm gonna ask you about a guy, Kyle Gibson, and I was like, oh, you motherfucker.
Top 3 stacks.
Yeah, so I like Rays, D-backs, and Rangers.
Rays, D-backs, Rangers. Yes, that would be the same for me. Dong Watch, who's going deep, Cam?
Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo, I like it. I will go with. I guess Ketel Marte, right? Fuck it, let's do it. Let's go.
All right,
let's go.
I'll go Christian Walker.
I like it. I'm gonna go Nick Ahmed.
Ooh.
Yes.
I will go. Who do I want to play? Who's going yard on the Rays?
For me?
Let's go. Yandy Diaz.
Please. I like that call. Yandy. I like Yandy. I guess I'll go with Brandon Lau. See ya.
There we go.
And that is going to do it for the Wise Take DFS podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up, that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching us on Facebook, give us a like and a share to support the Wise Take Nation. If you're watching us on Twitch or Twitter, give us a follow, give us a retweet. If you're listening to us on Podbean or iTunes, give us some 5-star reviews. Cam, anything in closing before we get out of here?
Not much. Big slate tomorrow, but we'll have it broken down by around 3 o'clock. So
Central.
Sign up. Yeah, Central.
Gotta clarify.
I only go by Central.
Cam only runs in. Hey, it's your world, Cam. I'm just a squirrel trying to get
yeah, exactly.
I
don't care about any other time zones, dude.
That's it. For KamG333, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.